Hello, ever since I've started Nambu Botanicals, I've gotten interested in plants, not just from the medicinal standpoint, like we see in the dietary supplements, but also in the actual spirit of the plants, the energy that the plant carries, and the benefits, very practical benefits that this energy, the impact that it can have on our lives. And I actually put this test to a plant as I started becoming more and more connected to them and communicating to them, reaching out with them. And the test was, we have a botanical garden in the guest house here in India. And Dr. Pillai had guided me to go over to one of the plants and pluck a leaf from that plant. And what he mentioned is that that plant, after you pluck the leaf, will give you thought manifestation. So once you have a thought, you pluck the leaf, and then whatever you have in your mind will manifest. And it actually happened. So my thought that I had in mind was a business project that I've been working on for 2 years. And that project was just stalling and stalling and stalling. So when I plucked the leaf, I thought, I want this project to come to some closure. I want it to finally culminate in a material reward for the company that I was working for. And as I plucked the leaf, I just prayed to the plant. I connected to the plant in that way. And then what actually happened is it came true. Within the afternoon of that day, the company who had been working with, they emailed us and said, you know, we want to speed this up. We have a meeting on Monday, and we want to know the final decision here. So I was totally astounded and realized that these plants are much more than just medicinal benefits. They also can give us so much on the spiritual side. They can help us practically in our day-to-day life. And I wanted to find out more about that from Dr. Pillai. So that's why we're here today.
The particular plant that she is talking about is called Adutindra Palai. Adutinna Palai in colloquial Tamil, which literally means it's a plant that goats don't eat. I don't know whether it is true or not, probably it must be true. There's another, so this plant is commonly grown everywhere, and it is a wild growth. And I never knew about the medicinal or the spiritual use of the plant. Of course, there's a lot of literature on the medicinal use of the plant, but there's very little known about the spiritual use of the plant, or the use of the plant in fulfilling people's requests and desires. This particular plant, Adutindra Palai, was introduced to me directly by Agastya through a Nadi reading. And he said that the plant has the ability to go to the space at a speed greater than light, faster than light, and then come back. And the plant can be accessed through a goddess who governs the plant. The theory here is that there are names for all these plants. The names belong to the goddess or god who rule the plants. This is a concept that is very prevalent in global mythology. If you go to, say, Greek mythology, every plant, almost every plant, has a god or goddess behind, and then a mythology behind. They're all fascinating, but what has happened over the passage of time, Greek civilization disappeared, the mythologies do exist. But nobody relates to the mythology or to the gods or to the connection that the plants have with gods or goddesses. That's not the case in India. In India, it's a live tradition. Not only a live tradition, that they were able to uh, know the miraculous abilities these plants have. The story that she was relating to you about this plant at Ardidina Pillai, it grows like a wild growth. You know, within a few months, it is like 5 feet tall, and then very lushy growth. And what is kept as secret by the Siddhas is the name of the goddess. It should not be given away. The guru has to give it to you, and that is how it has been kept in the Siddha tradition. So I just introduced the goddesses, the goddess behind this Ardidina Pillai, and then said, just worship her, just go and hug her, and then try to contact her. Since I am not by oath allowed to reveal the name of the goddess behind this Ardidina Pillai, because you cannot find it in books, or you may be able to find it in some, maybe that too, in some palm leaves. So I gave that to her, and then it worked, and it started doing miracles. And there are also gods for very common trees that you find everywhere in India. The peepal tree, or the Bodhi tree, it's called. And it has also miraculous powers, and there's a god behind that too, or goddess behind that too. So it became such a passion for me for the past year to get more involved in it. And let me summarize to you what are my interests. Number one, they can fulfill your desires, and they can, by in a miraculous way, taking your desires to the space where through mysterious means you gain power to fulfill your desires. That's one thing. That's the magical side of it. The other aspect of it is a chemical. It's a chemical, and that's a medicinal value. And it has not, again, the medicinal side has not been explored by the Ayurvedic and Siddha medicine people, because they have no access to modern science. So the modern science is now interested in finding the molecule. And to identify a molecule costs several millions of dollars, and it's a very intricate technology. And so that I'm terribly interested in finding the molecules of that. And one of the things that is fascinating is the the plant called periwinkle or vinca rosea, from which we get this vinblastine, which is used in chemotherapy for cancer medicine. It's available abundantly in India. It goes to the US and other Western countries and come back to India as the vinblastine, which is used for chemotherapy. And whenever I see the vinca rosea, Even in this office building where I'm now recording, there are a few plants of Vicarosia, but not many people know that this is used for cancer. What is more profitable, which is my primary interest, is to go to the goddess and then create a relationship with the goddess. I want to give the name of the goddess who is behind this Vincarosia periwinkle is in Sanskrit Nitya Kalyani. When Agastya gave it to me, but he did mention, well, this will not allow the cells to age. So what that means is that the plant can give you like eternal life, immortality, physical mortality, and never allowing the cells to age. Eternal youthhood, to put it precisely. So that is something that modern science has not figured it out. There's, of course, vinblastine and vincristine have been used now, but not uh, the ability of this plant to give you eternal youthhood, but not allowing the cells to age. There are innumerable plants, innumerable goddesses who govern them, not only in India, but also in other parts of the world. I think if we get into this domain, it will be not only monetarily profitable, but also doing a great service to humanity. That's why I decided to do this video for you. And also, I'm going to create a botanical garden full of these plants, botanical gods garden. I will call it Botanical God's Garden. These are botanical gods. And it is not very new, particularly in the Indian context, because wherever you go, there is a Sthala Vriksha. Sthala Vriksha means the temple, the tree or plant dedicated to that particular god of the temple. And it is as important or even more important to worship the plant and develop contact with the plant than to the statue per se. So this is very exciting, and then her story is amazing. And I have put in the guest house a few plants. There's one plant which you may be interested in knowing about. And this is a plant that can grow up to a tall tree. A Vanni maram. It's called a Vanni plant. And the leaves are like very tiny, tiny leaves. And it's a tropical plant. There's a story in the Mahabharata. Krishna goes round and round the plant, circumambulating it. And Arjuna comes and asks, "What are you doing here? I've been watching you going and going round and round and talking to the leaves. What are you doing?" Krishna told Arjuna, "You don't know. These plant leaves, which are like very tiny, tiny leaves, and have the ability to store memory. Or works like a computer chip, but can hold like the storage is unlimited storage. Maybe 1 trillion megabytes of memory. And then Arjuna said that I don't care. I don't understand what you mean by that. How can these leaves carry these the memories? So Krishna told him, just take a bunch of leaves and then go to bed today and put these leaves under your pillow and see what happens. And Arjuna was able to retrieve from the leaves what Krishna had programmed into it. It's all about the war strategies, how to kill a particular individual, when to kill him, and who is going to kill, what day it's going to happen. All this information, he stored it in the leaves. Amazing. This not many people know neither the Mahabharata story nor the Vani tree and its ability to remember, to hold memory, and then you will be able to retrieve it only when uh, only during sleep. So the mind has to go to sleep. So that's something very fascinating. So this reminds me something that I don't want to spend too much time. 20 years ago, I acted in a movie called Nirvana in Italy. I used to live there at that time. It was directed by a famous guy, Gabriel Silvatores. And I was giving a lecture in Milano, and then this guy came up to me and then said, I used to have a long beard at the time and hair. And he was directing a movie, and then they wanted somebody to act as a guru in that movie. So Christopher Lambert was the hero in that movie. Um, so I said I would act in the movie, provided you tell me what is the story is about. If it's a spiritual movie, I will consider. So Christopher Lambert is coming in. His wife, no, his girlfriend actually, who came to my ashram and died in the ashram. And Christopher Lambert came looking for the girlfriend. But by the time he came, the girlfriend died. But what I did was I was able to kind of store her memory in a computer chip. So that's all the movie is about. And then I was handing over the chip to Christopher Lambert. It's a long story, I don't want to go into that. At least it was a science fiction at that time. It's about 20 years ago when I acted in the movie. But it was really amazing to know about the world of the plants and their connection with different galaxies, and they being gods and goddesses, and how they can heal, or how they can even give you secret knowledge, or how they can keep you youthful forever, or how just by hugging the tree you can be transformed. All these are possibilities. So it just this idea came to me this morning. I should create this Botanical God Garden, Botanical God's Garden. Uh, it's just become such a big passion for me now. Thank God that we for allowing us to share this great knowledge with you. God bless.